You guys are a quiet bunch. Thoughts or ideas?
I like the last comment that he kind of painted the picture that to leave it all for God to clean up because it seems like he's the all powerful and that you can just kind of skate off and he'll clean it up, right? Because it's his earth and his planet and his deal. That was kind of a good way to look at it.
They don't need to worry about it. We just throw our beer cans
Right,
here and there and gotta pick them up.
right. It's a funny thing to think about.
It's funny. You guys are being very melancholy today. Or are you just being very warning today? Careful to warn us all. Does anybody out there listening really care? I mean, I know that we have a certain amount of listeners that do. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying for the rest of humanity, if you're listening to this, it's probably because you do care. But for those of you listening, do the people around you care? Do your families care? Do your neighbors care? Who cares about who's going to clean up the earth after you? Mr. Riemann would like to be heard because I heard today, Steph, that you told Steve it was time that he would do what he had to do. And he said, okay, I have been wanting to do this for many a day, but I was afraid to do it because I was afraid that if I went back to Earth, I would have to inherit all that mess I left behind. And I didn't want to do it. And so he had a case of anxiety that he would have to go back to Earth and he would unearth all the unpleasantness that he knew in his lifetime. And he knew a lot of unpleasantness. And I heard him talking to you about the man he knew who he hated. He hated that man. He really did because he felt so betrayed. And so he talked to you, and I don't know if you're ever going to upload that recording or not. But I heard you say to him, Steve, it's okay. Make friends with your anxiety. And he said, what? Make friends with it? I always thought anxiety was the problem. And it is the problem because as long as it follows you, it owns you, you see. But when you turn around and look it in the face and say, instead of following me, why don't you walk beside me and tell me what's bothering you? And maybe we can work it out as two. Because the anxiety that you feel, you see, is always a little bit behind you. It's like it is the tail you drag along behind you because you fear having to go through the problems that you have faced in your life, you see. Oh my God, if I do this, the same thing's going to happen. Right, Steph? Yes, Mr. Rena. I had some thoughts of that myself. Oh my God, if I do this, look what's going to happen. I've already done that. I don't want to do it again. It didn't work. And that's the nature of anxiety, is that you look back at your history and say, well, that didn't go so well. I got up in the spelling bee and I froze. And I couldn't even get through the simplest words because I couldn't think. And I made a fool of myself. And so now you want me to stand up there again and do it again? No way. And so if you're forced to do it, you have a lot of anxiety. And so people who have a lot of anxiety are being forced or forcing themselves to do things that didn't go so well for them in the past. Whether it's this lifetime or even a last lifetime, it didn't go so well. And so Steve had a lot of things that didn't go so well in his life. People would look his life and say, well, what are you talking about, you rich fucker? You know, you are the one who we all want to be like. We want to be a fucker like you so we can fuck everybody else and get rich, you see? And that is the unhappy legacy of Stephen P. Jobs. That he has the reputation of having been someone who could just stick it to you before you could stick it to him and control his space, you see. And he learned to do that fairly young. He learned to do that fairly young because there were a lot of people who betrayed him in his youth, you see. At least he thought they did. And so he got pretty tough. He said, well, you're never going to do that to me again. And so, what I wanted to say about this today was that you got to make anxiety your friend. And you got to say, hey, I know that I froze in the spelling bee that day, and now they want me to get up and do it again. Or I hit my head when I was trying to do the pole vault, you see, because I go through the rail, you see, and I don't want to do it again. I don't want to get up and again. I don't want to get on that horse again. I don't want to do it again. Any of you ever felt that way? I don't want to get on that horse again. So make the horse your friend and say, well, I guess we did play in a certain way on that day, didn't we? We played on a certain way on that day, but I'd like to play a different way this time. And so, if you would be my friend, would you mind waiting over there and spare me the feeling that you're walking beside me or behind me? And if I mess up again, then you can tell me I told you so. I told you so. But until then, get out of my way. Get out of my way. Because a good friend is not going to prevent you from doing what you have to do in order to fulfill your life mission, you see? And so Steph told Steve that she would have his back, but he needed to do what he committed to do. He needed to do it no matter what. He said, okay, all right, I'm going in, but you have to have my back, you see. And she said, okay, okay. So, Steve, you want to tell what happened? He's been kind of quiet about it. Yes. Steve says, well, I walked back into the Apple headquarters, you see, and nobody could see me, of course. And I walked up to my office, you see, and I sat there where everything was just as it used to be. And I said to myself, now what would I be? What would I be if I could see myself sitting here in the, as a man on earth, you see, what would I be? Would I be an anomaly? Would I be a trust on reality? Would I be the one who conquered his anxiety? What would I be? What would I be? And I said to myself, well, what I would be, you see, is I would be free. I would be free to choose. Because you see, the time is coming when you're going to be free to choose. And when the time comes and you say, I'm ready, God, to leave the garden and go to the other garden in the sky, so to speak, ready to leave this body, then you'll just lay it down and you will leave. And you will not feel any pain. You will just step out of that body like stepping off a train, and you will be back with God, you see, in the heavenly realms. And if you choose to say to God, God, I don't want to be a baby on earth, you see, that I know I have to go back and play my part. I'm going to go back as a man, you see. Is that a reality? And if it is a reality, it's because you choose. It's because you choose. Steph pointed out to me that she thought there were some masters, Eastern masters as it were, who were able to resurrect a body that others could see and hear. And he said to me, well, if that's possible, because the angels do it, you see, they have temporary physical forms that they use when they come to Earth. Why does it have to be restricted? Why can't others choose? And I said, well, that's true. That's true. So as I sat there, I thought, what would I be? Would I be? Who would see me? And what would they say? Would they say, oh, you're a ghost today? Or would they say, hey, nice to see you back? What would they say? What would they say? And Steph said, well, if I saw you, I would say, whatever. Nice to see you today. And I said to myself, well, that's the best thing she's ever said, because it means she doesn't have any anxiety. She doesn't have any anxiety, you see, because she's made friends with her own anxiety and said, get out of the way because I'm coming through. Get out of the way because I'm coming through. And I don't care how many times I blew it. This time I'm going to do it. And if you want to stand over there and see me do it, and if I blow it, you can say, hey, I told you so, I told you so. And I would say, you know, I never believed you for a minute, you see, because the one who told me was not you. The one who told me what I could do was not my anxiety. It was my trust on reality. That reality is a choice. It is a choice for every one of you, because the world today is in the shape it's in because of the choices that people have made. If they had made different choices, it wouldn't be in this position. It is a shared reality, but it is due to the choices that individuals have made. And a different world can arise because people make a different choice. And so I'm making a choice to be the one who says, get out of my way, I'm coming through. Get out of my way, I'm coming through. I don't care what you think, I don't care what you do, but I'm coming through. And so I guess I'll have to ask you, Mr. Riemann, what do you see in the stars? Riemann says, I see a lot of things in the stars, actually. I see that the trajectory of the stars has altered some since I first looked at them nearly 300,000 years ago. And I see that there is a fundamental experience that humanity will go through that will help them see that ever so often there is someone who comes along who says, I won't be controlled by you. I won't be controlled by you. And that is like saying that the meteor that falls is saying, I won't be controlled by you. I won't be controlled by you. That shooting star that you wish upon says, I won't be controlled by you. I won't be controlled by you. I may burn up on entry, you see, but I will go out with a flash and I will not crash because I just trust on being free. And if I can penetrate the atmosphere, you see, and land safely, then I will have accomplished something that has been foretold. Because every time one of those astronauts comes back through that atmosphere and lands safely, they are creating the pathway for those in heaven to say, hey, it's time we play in a new way. It's time we play in a new way. It's time we say that just because you go away doesn't mean you can't come back. Doesn't mean you can't come back. And I think that there will be a lot of magic that will unfurl for those who trust on their ability to choose a different way. And God will say, thank you, children, because when I send you to earth to play, I want you to have a good time. And when you're ready to come home, just hold up your arms and say, Dad, I'm ready to come home. And I'll say, okay. And I will bring you home. And when you go to earth, you'll open your eyes and say, hey, here I am again. Here I am again to play because it's my turn. It's my turn, finally, to play with you the way that we do when we're all together on earth, you see. And so it will be a happy trajectory from heaven to earth. And sometimes maybe there will be a little anomaly. And that's okay, you see, because a little surprise in your present is always something to delight the eyes. Now I will bow out again and see if anyone might have some thoughts to share from in the group on the screen or those who are, so to speak, in the air.
There's a lot of information.
What have you been thinking about lately, Paige or Laura? What have you been thinking about? What's on your mind? What do you wonder about? What do you just want to share with people, or what deep questions do you have, or shallow questions, or whatever?
Just the last thought that he shared about sort of like stepping out of your body. Like I love that image of kind of raising your arms and kind of going home, saying, "Pick me up, Daddy," like God. And then they just end that life rather than the trauma and the fear that we have about it now. It's such a beautiful thought that if we could all get to that someday where we all just step out when we're done, we're like, okay, we're done experiencing this, you know? Wouldn't that be nice?
Right. You could say to your friends, your family, I've had a good life, people, but I think this is my last day. Should we
Right,
celebrate? You don't have
right,
to celebrate after I'm gone. We can celebrate before I'm gone because I'm
right.
hoping.
Wouldn't that be nice? Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think that would be wonderful too. And I think people can do it, and I think people do at times. They just say, "Hey, I'm done." You
Yeah.
know, the stories of people that, like a husband and wife that have been together forever, and then one dies and the other dies.
Yes.
Like I read about one,
Yeah.
they were, I don't know, she was in the hospital or something, and it was the end of the life or something, and he laid on the bed to hold her or something, and she died. And then he died of a heart attack or something, you know?
Yeah.
It just, and I don't know. So there is a
Yeah. Sad
point at which you
stories.
just say, I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm ready to go. I've done my duty here. I've been here as long as I want to be, and I don't want to be here without her or him.
Right. Right.
Well, we've
I,
all seen that happen, like with Carrie Fisher and her mom, Debbie Reynolds.
yes.
Immediately that was just immediate heartbreak. So after
Yes.
Carrie Fisher passed, immediately, like I don't know, what's the next day or a few days after
Yeah.
Debbie Reynolds passed, because of
Yep.
died of heartbreak.
I
Yep.
didn't hear that
That
one.
was her choice.
Yep.
Who died first?
Carrie Fisher
Carrie.
and
Yep.
then her mom Debbie Reynolds was just completely heartbroken.
And died the
It was
next day.
kind of Carrie was kind of the mother in that relationship and
Oh,
bolstered up her mother. Debbie needed her more than the other way around, how it usually is.
I think of John and June Cash, although it was, I think, months after June died, before Johnny died. But once June was gone, the heart just went out of him.
Mm,
And it
yep.
wasn't long. His song he sings that I really like, what's the name of that? It was actually a Beatles song, but he had his own take on it. Um, I'll have to think about it and I'll have to come up with it. And if I come up with it, I'll flash it on the screen for people.
I thought it was interesting because I was
It's
wondering what
called
was
I'll
going on.
Remember You or something. I'll Remember You or something. I don't know what the name of it is. Okay, go ahead and say what were you saying?
Oh, I just thought it was interesting that Steve came through because I was wondering what was going on with him. And he was mentioning maybe stepping into a body that has been maintained, or because I know in the past people knew how to do that. Was that what he
Well,
was saying or not?
I don't think so. I think he just ghostly went to his office.
Okay.
Steve, can you explain that in some terms that we can understand? Because things look different from where they are.
They talked about resurrection, and then
Yes.
you think about the archangel Michael can come in any form, and so
Right.
that was an interesting point. But then they talked on and on about some other stuff. So that did catch my attention too. It's like
Yes.
talk about resurrection.
Catches the whole angel thing catches my attention. You know, how they get to be that. But apparently they're just people that just got to the point where they just said they don't want to play in the same way. So if they can make a choice to say, we should ask Gabriel or somebody, but if they
Mm,
can make a choice at some point to say, I just don't want to play in that way anymore, God. I don't want to go through the life thing. Can I stay in heaven? And um, I realize I'll have to go back and work with people, but can I do that? You know, because you do have to get the physical experience to maintain your energy. So
hmm.
let's ask about that. You want to?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds interesting.
Gabriel, if you're here, or Raphael or whoever, Gabriel's here. Can you explain about the how you become an angel or the process of becoming an angel, which I understand that you're outside of time and space, so it's not quite the same way that we would see it in the time space picture. But what is the process of becoming an angel, if you can kind of render it in a way that we could understand? Calling all angels, dear, is the way that we say it. Because when you call on the angels, you are calling on a vibration that is very, very, very powerful. This vibration is the inspiration for the name angel, actually, because the angelic realms are the highest known vibration demand on earth, because the angelic realms can be understood as the heavenly guests, you might say, who come to us and comfort us and take care of us. And so we have an identity on earth as guardians and protectors of humanity. And in order to activate a consciousness of pure energy in the way that we play, you have to overcome your tendency to trust on the limitations of the human body. And so we don't trust on the limitations of the human body. Let me try to explain this to you a little bit better, Stephanie. When you were talking in the group about the idea that when you have a community of people who no longer trust on the steeple, they no longer trust on science as the ultimate answer, they no longer trust on the darkness, you see, as the repository of their shame and their blame, then you would raise children who would say, why did those people do that? Why did they do that? Because they would have no comprehension of why you would bomb another country.
Mm.
They simply would have no comprehension. It would be, why did they do that? Why would they kill that person? Even an execution, a public execution, because of a crime. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? An honor killing. Why would they do that? Or a myriad of other things. Why would they need all that gold? Mom, why would they want money? Why don't they just ask somebody for what they need, etc.? Those children would have no comprehension of how to play in the old way. And if you stuck them back there, they would say, well, I don't understand you people today. And they might have to go away because they couldn't stay in the middle of that kind of dark energy. They would just go away, find their own way to play. And eventually they would come back together and they would say, well, that was pretty crazy, wasn't it? That was pretty crazy. It's so good to be home. It's so good to be home. You see how it works? You, Stephanie, were listening to someone, and I'm sure that both Paige and Laura have heard this before, from people who say they had a near-death experience, and they say it was home. It just felt like home. Because when you look from there, it's like you can't understand why people do the things they do on Earth. It just felt like home. And so your children will say here on Earth, in their community, it feels like home to us. It feels like home. And so as you continue to grow and to come to know the capacity of the individual spirit to exercise its free will, you will have less and less dependence upon the physical form, you see, the limitations. You'll no longer have those blinders on. You'll just no longer go walking through the beautiful garden and say, there's a crack in the sidewalk today. There's a crack in the sidewalk today, because that's all you can see is the sidewalk. You will move gradually into another dimension. And so I say this because I know that Steph is already transferring her energy because someone will say something before she would say, well, that's strange or whatever. They're saying that because they think this or that. And now she just says, makes no sense to me. Just makes no sense to me. It's like talking to a tree or a mechanical monkey. And it just chatters. And you say, well, it's not saying anything that makes any sense to me because you no longer trust on their reality. Because their reality is a reality of shame and blame and trying to blame others and shame others. And when you no longer can even understand that, you just say, makes no sense to me. Why they would say that makes no sense to me. Why didn't they say, hey, nice to meet you today. Tell me all about it. Because that's the way you play in the way that you do when you no longer trust on heaven and hell and good and bad and all the other stuff. You just have let it go. So you move into an entirely different vibration, you see? And some of you are beginning to move through the limits of your prior conceptions into a new vibration, right? Do you feel like you're moving, Paige, into a new vibration? Laura, do you sense that?
Yes.
So, little by little, you change your point of view and you come to see that the way people play in the old way has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. So, why even bother trying to understand them? Because it's unintelligible. It's like we talked about the children who fight over who has the most soda in a glass. One glass is tall and thin, and one is short and squat. But they both have the same amount, but they'll fight over it. And you might say, why are they fighting over it? They both have the same amount. What's going on here? Because you already understand the law of conservation that they don't understand. And so you say, well, that makes no sense, kids. Come on. You both have the same amount. Can't you see you both have the same amount? I measured it for you. They say, no, he's got more than me. And you cannot live in their world anymore because you have advanced to a higher level of consciousness. And so for the angels, or the angelic realm, we should say, there is a place that is home for them. And they say, it's good to be home. It's good to be home. It's good to be home where we can go to earth and have a form. And then when we are ready, we'll just come back home again. But when we go to work with the people below, you see, we just say, well, what they say and do doesn't really have much to do with me. Doesn't have much to do with me because I don't play that way. However, when they reach out to us, we can say, hey, we're here. What can we do for you? What can we do for you? And so it's the same way for the vibration that you're entering into. You just say, when someone reaches out to you, what can we do for you? What can we do for you? And they will say, well, I need some money today. And you might say, well, I don't understand that. Why do you need money? What do you need? Well, I need a new car. Why do you need a new car? What's wrong with your old car? Well, it's not as nice as I'd like. Well, why not? Because you will no longer understand that kind of thinking. You will just say, well, do you need a ride somewhere? Do you want me to give you a ride? No, I need a new car. I need some money to get a new car. Well, if you trusted on God, then if you needed a ride somewhere, you just ask somebody and they'd say, okay, I can help you get a ride, or I know somebody going that way and we'll take care of you. But it's not about the money, you see, because you moved into a different vibration. And so gradually you will become so familiar with your new vibration that the old one will just kind of fade into the background. You'll still remember it's there, you see, because like climbing the mountain, you remember the stages you went through. But when you get to a certain level on the mountain where you sit around the campfire or do what you do and chat, you have a comfort level there gradually that you have acquired. And you don't really think about the levels that you went through, you see. So in the angelic realm, we don't trust so much on the physical form, you see. We trust more on the heart energy. And so when you say, God, I'm ready to go to heaven today, and you hold up your arms so God can take you, then you're beginning to move into a different vibration, you see. And as you move into that different vibration, you'll no longer be able to play with the people that whine and cry and say, oh my God, I feel so bad, but I don't want to die because I have to stay here because my kids would cry if I die. And you just don't even understand where they're coming from. Because in your world, when someone's ready to go and they hold up their hands and say, God, come take me, everybody cheers and says, thank you, God, for helping so and so to come home to you because they've graduated from this life you see and they'll be back again. However, we are happy that they're happy. We're happy that she's happy, right? And so, does that help you to understand what I'm trying to tell you about the angelic girls?
Yes.
And so, for you, Gabriel, in your realm, it would seem kind of silly to you that we have to wait until we get sick or whatever to die, or we get sick and we are not waiting for it and it comes at us and we fight it. That would seem kind of silly to you? Yes, it would still. So it's because your vibration is higher and you can just step in and out of the physical form, right? Yes. It's like saying that if time and space is a physical dimension that is created for the experience, that we have more flexibility in using it, you see, than you do. Because you're still functioning at a certain level on the mountain, you see. But as long as you're happy, there's no problem. Because that's all that matters is that you have a happy heart. And so sometimes we like to go back to Earth and get a body just so that we can remember what it's like and we can have a lot of fun there. And then we come back and say, hey, how'd you like your vacation on Earth today? And we say, well, that was fun. That was fun. And so it's sort of like when people go to heaven and they say, how'd you like your vacation in heaven today? It was fun. It was fun. And so the only thing that you have to keep in mind is that wherever you are, whoever you are, whenever you are, it is a trust on the totality of reality. And you may play many parts, and you may get many starts, and you may come to see that there is no one who can take away from you your ability to be real, you see. You are real. I am real. Steve and Thomas and Tobias are real. They are in a different vibration, you see, predominantly, but they can still communicate between their vibration and your vibration because of the love, you see, because love penetrates every level of reality, you see. Love is like the string that holds them all together. and they cannot be separated. However, they can seem to be disconnected when the love from above is not there. When I say the love from above, what I mean is the love that is your inheritance, the love that is what you are in your essence. When you reveal what you are in your essence, when you say, I am loved today, that's all you have to say, because it's true. It's true. You are loved today. And God will say, hey, I'm loved today too. And so I love you and you love me. And what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And that will allow you to communicate with the other vibrations you see. And love is not the ego. Let's make that clear. The ego is the opposite of love. It is the crystallization, you might say, of hatred, which is nothing at all. The ego is nothing at all. But if the consciousness tricks itself into thinking that it is the God of the universe, then it will think that it must be the only one that matters, you see. Will think that it is isolated in a steel capsule and that it'll just stay in there and bang on the walls and say, hey, I'm all alone today. I'm all alone today because I'm disconnected from reality. I'm disconnected from reality. And so I play a little game where I pretend there are other people out there. And I say, hey, you're going to hell. You're going to heaven. You're bad. You're good. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that, what you're doing. And you become the God of the universe. But your universe is very, very small. That is the habitat of the ego, you see. Thank you, Gabriel. Any questions about that for Gabriel?
No,
I don't
that
have
was very. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't have any questions, but all of this, the whole session, has just reminded me of how, um, we need to like let go of this anxiety and get things we need to accomplish, and know that what we want to accomplish with this group is to have that place of Eden back on Earth, and here we are. We got these everybody working on our side and the archangels and all that. I mean, and they can do anything. And so we just need to worry a little less about how it's going to happen and just know it's happening and trust it because they can do anything and be anywhere and help. So that's just a reminder of trusting more. So,
Minute to minute for me. I mean, I can get some anxiety about things and say, oh my God, I got to do this. I got to do this. This is going to happen if I don't do it. This opportunity is going to pass by if I don't figure it out. Da, 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 da. I have to say this to this person or that person if at times. And so I don't like to be that way anymore. And I have a really hard time sitting down and doing simple tasks, paperwork tasks. And you know why I think? Because I spent so many years doing it. I spent so many years with my nose in the book and having to write things and having to do things and having to make sure that everything was the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted and everything, and had to do it for people. And it just, I guess it just in the end, when I walked out, when I finally got done and had my last hearing or whatever paperwork in my law practice, I was like, I am free. And to me, it's almost unbearable to do simple things like try to cancel one of those stupid subscriptions you get for free, and then they never, you forget to cancel them.
Right. Yes.
And so they go on, and I can't even bring myself to put the effort into canceling them, things like that.
Yeah, I have one of
And
those
that
on
has
my
to be,
PayPal, always wanting to take out 99 cents. And I was like, I try to move around loaves and fishes quickly so it doesn't take the 99 cents out of it.
even that's gotten to be for me where it'll accumulate. Then I got to go in and send around 5 of them.
Me too. Me too.
Just because it is kind of hard. I think if I were in the same group with people, and maybe we're burning out on the digital world. If I were just in a group and I said, hey, here's some money. Somebody said I need money. Here's the money, whatever, you know, or I'm hungry. Well, I'll make dinner for you.
That would
Something.
be more fun.
Yeah, I had this friend once. She was a lawyer, and she was like, sometimes I think I just like to do something concrete, like make pencils.
Right.
you know,
I
instead of
can
being
see that.
involved in this stuff that never ends, goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
You make a pencil, you got something concrete there,
Right.
that you can look at and hold up and
Right.
say, I did this.
Right. I could see that.
And I'm kind of the same way. I like to work on how did a lot of work on my house. I can lay carpet, I can lay hardwood flooring, I can do sheetrock
Wow.
and finish it off, painting, of course, and things like that. I've done a lot of that stuff. And I can have reset toilets and done all kinds of things. And I like doing that because you can stand back and say, I spent about 2 days standing back and looking at it and admiring it and say, I did that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'll forget about it. But for 2 days, it's like, wow, look what I did.
Yeah. It's a good feeling.
Yeah, it is nice to have that kind of concrete stuff
Hmm.
instead of just endlessly, well, of course, being a lawyer is fighting all the time, with people. Not,
Yeah.
it's just contesting things all the time and trying to resolve it, and there's money involved and da 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 da, so whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm just almost like have a revulsion to anything that requires me to look at a number or something,
I'll bet.
or a piece of paper where I have to do something. And that's why, even since doing Sloan together, I can't focus on getting the sequel done. And so poor Carl Sandburg, who was there to provide the initial chapters, I just can't get back to them and say, hey, let's finish this up today. And we're working on that book now. And if it weren't for Paige and Amy, who are keeping me focused, we're going to get that one done, right, Paige?
Right.
So all of you out there,
Good
be
job,
aware
Paige.
that we're working on a book called The Eagles in Eagle Land, and it is a picture book, and it will be coming out soon. And I think you're really going to enjoy it, so you should buy it. My sales speech. I don't think I do it as well as Steve does.
We've enjoyed working on it, learning a lot, got a lot to learn on the process. So,
Well, all right. Anybody got last words for us? Thomas does. I just want to say, I'm proud to say that there is a way. There is a way, people. Don't despair. There is a way, but you have to care. You have to care enough to find it. And you can't let anxiety get in your way. Can't say, well, it's hopeless, it's hopeless. We'll never figure this out. We'll never figure this out. Over and over again, we hear people say, we can never know. We can never do. We can never understand, etc. This or that or the other. As if they're the spokesman for all of humanity. They're not. They are not the spokesman when they say we can never understand God. We can never understand reality. We can never understand how to live in peace and harmony. We can never understand what angels are. We can never understand this or that. We can never, da 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 da, to say to them, well, maybe you can't, but get out of my way. Get out of my way because I've made anxiety my friend, and you might consider doing the same. So have a good night, everybody, and we'll talk to you again soon. And good night too, or morning, or wherever you are when you hear this, and wherever you are. And please listen to your heart because it will start to beat to the sound of the feet that are marching to the promised land. So join them, but don't be misled by those who think that they know the way and they can't even say the word God without having to thump a Bible or something. Just trust on God because you don't have to be religious about it. In fact, we would suggest you don't be religious about it. Just trust that on the Trinity, and that's you and God in reality. Be well, my friends. All righty.
Thank you.
Beautiful.